He's Black Guy Fawkes, and I'm not. And together we are Fawkes and Friends. Today, the third friend who we're talking to about creativity and social justice is Jessica Guise.
1, 2, 3, 4. From coast to coast, from sea to shining sea, what he got is fucking wrong. His life's not made for you and me. We're chatting built the wall as we tear down bathroom stalls. And watch our kids get slaughtered as they run straight through the hall. Let's go!
Before we get into the meat of this episode, Ian, can I just say that I'm very excited that I get to do another show with you this weekend in Baltimore where we get to just drink and party.
This is true. We could just get to hang out in Baltimore, Ramshead Live, and see our guitar friends Michael and Vanessa play, and we get to see Frank Turner play with fucking Amico the Devil and Bridge City Centers. That's just the best lineup of all time. So I'm looking forward to it.
And we get to boo previous guest Kaher.
This is true. We do get to we get to boo this man.
Someone who we won't boo, though, is our guest today, Jessica Guise. Ian, tell me why this conversation was so important to you.
This conversation was important to me because the fact that we got to talk about a topic that's very important to me musically and just personally. That's just the topic of mental health. This is definitely a heavier episode than it was before. And just be prepared for that. We talk about some deep and some serious subjects in regards to mental health. I feel like out of all the interviews, this is probably my favorite one.
Yeah, I'm really proud of what we did here with this. And I'm also proud of all the stuff you have coming up, Ian. So what do you have coming up on the docket?
July 5th, I fly up to Denver, and I get to play Punk Rock Saves Lives Fest at Ratio Beer Works. And it's going to be myself, 1876, Chad Price Peace Coalition, Venomous Pinks, Dolores, John fucking Snodgrass, and it's going to be such a fun time. I get to take a plane over to Jersey, to take a bus to Allentown to meet Ed, to go to Gilbert, PA, so I can play Camp Punksylvania. It'll be duo set with me and my good friend and guitar player and the co-conspirators, quarterback, and we'll be joined by Bad Cop, Bad Cop. We'll be joined by Dave Without Love, Co-Defendants, Venomous Pinks again, Sweet Anne Marie, Leston Jake, and just so many other good people.
And Ian, let's not forget that we have your massive 31st birthday celebration coming up.
Yes, indeed. And all of you are invited to it. I'll be doing my 6th annual Fawkes and Friends birthday celebration at Dig Deep Brewing Cumberland, Maryland this year. 6-1. We've been doing this for the last 6 years now. I'm really just happy to be able to continue to do this. And it's just $10 just to get in. And this year, I do want to shout out that it is sponsored by Punk Rock Saves Lives, Calling All Crews, the Warren Recording Group, St. Russell Media, and community members Bob Mayhew and Jennifer Brown. Shout out to them. Everything starts at 5 o'clock. And hey, tell them about the lineup.
Well, obviously, we're making you work on your own birthday show, so you'll get to see Black Guy Fawkes and the Co-Conspirators. You'll get to see Micah Schnabel and Vanessa Jean Speckman. Get to see President Bomber, Endless Mike and the Beagle Club, Coffee with Lions, Libcore, A Day Without Love, MJ Bones, Brianna Merkel, Nate Hutchings, and there's going to be a live podcast recording of Sound Out with our pal Jesse Hubbard. It's going to be a great time, and I still have to find a hilariously inappropriate birthday gift for Ian. But while I'm out shopping for that, Ian, what do you say we just get into our interview with Jessica Guise?
Yeah, let's get right into it. Jess, guys, welcome to Fawkes and Friends. How you doing today, my friend? It's good to have you on.
Lovely to be here. Thank you for having me.
I think the first time that we met was in Anaheim last year. I wasn't able to see you set, but I listened to your music since your album Youngest Daughter came out, and I truly fucking loved it.
Thank you.
So I'm curious, what is your music background, and what instruments can you play?
So first to say, I did see your set and it was brilliant. So my musical background is I was raised by a musical father. He played the guitar and he taught me to play the guitar. Not very well. I haven't really got any better since I started learning when I was 18, but that's what I use mostly to write. I play a tiny bit of piano, so I have a few songs on the piano as well. Very quickly, I discovered that the writing was the part that I like the best rather than the practicing. Actually, before that, I do also, so the instrument I'm best at probably, or at least used to be, is the flute, which is super cool, right? It's everyone's coolest instrument. So I started learning the flute when I was 8, and that one I did practice that, and I got really good for a bit, but I quit when I got into folk music and writing songs. So the music that I love is all really folky, really old school, sort of British folk. My friends call it twiddle-dee-diddle-dee. My friends, my husband, twiddle-dee-diddle-dee folk music. I just love it. I've always wished I played the fiddle, but I don't.
With Andre 3000 and Lizzo bringing the flute back, I mean, maybe now's the time.
Maybe it's
Maybe
having
it's
a
cool.
renaissance. Yeah, I did get a wooden flute, which is somehow a little bit cooler. I don't know why, but it kind of is. It's harder though. It's really hard, and I've only got itty bitty fingers, so that was quite difficult. I've played on my record. I play on a song on Youngest Daughter. I mentioned playing the flute on one of my songs, and then it's also on my most recent single, Wish. There's a little flute line, you can't really tell, but so I crack it out every now and again.
When you talked about the writing process and how the writing of the music is your favorite part more than the practicing, when you're writing, are you starting with the music element, with the instrument, or are you starting with lyrics? Like, where does the process start for you?
Good question. I think traditionally it was always the music first. So I'd find something that sounds pretty on the guitar. And I don't really know what I'm playing on the guitar. And that remains true. Like, I know your basic chords, but I've tried, my husband's tried to teach me, like, to make sense of chord progressions and chord relationships. And I can, if I stop and think about it, that's great. But generally I just go, that sounds nice. I just kind of bounce my way around the fret and find something that I like, which is really unskilled, but at the same time has allowed me to be a little bit more open to the sounds that I find. So I find it really useful in terms of writing because it feels like things just pop up. So I'll find something that sounds nice and then start sort of singing over it a lot of the time. But then when I get a sort of sense of the sonic world of a song, then quite a lot of the time I will spend, the hardest part for me is crafting I say hardest, it's my favorite part, but making the lyric notches is the bit that I put probably the most work into, I think. But then sometimes the words will just come, I've got a few songs that I wrote, a song called Mine, which is on the piano. I came home from an evening out and just wrote the whole thing in about a minute and a half, and then found a melody and a piano part to go with it. So I think there, sometimes a bit of both. Sometimes the whole thing just appears. That happened with one song, which is called The Boy and the Thief. I just was walking home and the whole song kind of started appearing, and then I started running to get home to get the song written. Do you know what I mean? I'm not very systematic. They happen how they happen, but usually I would say music first. Yeah.
So I know you just put out on Wish just last year. Are you working on any more music?
I am really slowly at the moment. So I have a handful of tracks that are recorded for the next album. I want to write like 1 or 2 more songs, but mostly it's written. The thing is, I'm doing this doctorate in my other life, and that I'm in the final year of that at the moment, and it's really, really intense. Timing wise, it's going to take a while, but it's always there at the back of my head. But I find, I don't know about you guys, I find I need headspace to write songs. Like, I need time, I need the capacity for boredom. Do you know what I mean? I need to be able to just sit with it and have some space around a song when it's appearing. So when I'm really, 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 really busy, I find I struggle to write. I know some people are very different, but for me, I need a bit more space. So I'm waiting for things to calm down a bit, and then I'll finish it off. And hopefully that will come out next year when I finish it.
Is it tough to balance that kind of thing? Because I've gone through grad school too and done things on the side. And it always seems like, at least to me, that when I'm in that school mode, there are times I really want to be doing anything else. And that's when I get like inspiration, but I don't have the time to do it. Like, do you do some kind of note or jot if something comes into your head when you are, focused on the PhD stuff?
Yeah, so it's not a PhD. The thing is, it's not really school. There is a school element, but a lot of it is on the job. So I'm in NHS settings. I'm doing the work that I'm doing there. And then I'm also doing some research. So already I've got there's kind of 3 parts of the doctorate. So I've already got this sort of 3 different bits that I'm trying to be. So I have to do that anyway. If something comes up for the other bit of that, I need to make a note. So absolutely. And I would say that when songs are really annoying, right? They do tend to appear when you don't want them to, like when you're driving. So a couple of songs, like one song in particular, I remember that is going to be on the next album that we've got it sort of half finished, a recorded version, and I really love it. And when that one, I was just driving when that one appeared. So I kind of awkwardly tried to press record and then like sang at my kids, which you're not supposed to do, right? So don't tell the feds. But like I was trying to press record on my phone, which is my Mac, kind of sing at it loudly enough so that it can hear me without obviously having to stop because I was on the motorway. So sometimes they just appear. And I can't remember someone wonderful like Nick Cave or somebody talking about that song was just appearing and you're going, not now, for God's sakes, I'm busy. The thing with me is I don't write anything down. That's the weird thing about me. I don't tend to write very much. I sing and rework and record, and I tend to write the songs. Sometimes I will write them if they're just kind of appearing, or if I'm really, really stuck trying to make something work, then I'll write with pen and paper. But usually I don't do that. I do it sort of in the ether with my voice notes on my phone, and I always have done. I've got this old white like tape player, so you could record on. And I used to record myself when I was a teenager. I would record myself singing the stuff I was making up onto this like wonderful, I think it's like Nokia or something ancient. It's in the attic, and I've still got all the old tapes. And sometimes there are moments there's one moment when my dad interrupted me, my dad who's no longer with us. And I was so annoyed at the time because I was in the middle of writing a song, so annoyed that he walked in and interrupted my recording. And then obviously now I'm really grateful for that little snippet of his voice because he's dead now. But I've always done it that way. So having a notepad doesn't really help me. I just need my phone and the voice notes. The awkward thing is, though, if there are lots of people around me, it can be quite tricky. So sometimes I'm like running off to the loo and making muffled sounds into my phone, which is, I'm sure, a bit disconcerting for the people around me. But yeah.
Yeah, me personally, I'm trying to get better. I'm good at writing down lyrics, like some lines that I have. I'll revisit that later. But for melodies, usually they hit me like early in the morning, and then like later on, I just
Really?
forget to record it. And then like 5 days later, like, oh, that's what it was. I end up
Yeah.
remembering stuff to write it there until about to record it.
And I think it's interesting that you say that, because I've always tried to not worry too much about it, because I believe that if it's good, I'll remember it, right? If it's worth remembering. Songs I've written when I was 14, I can't remember. Others I remember from beginning to end because there's something there that's, I'm pretty good at remembering my own songs. So I think like I try not to panic if I don't get it, because I'm like, if it's good, I'll probably remember it when I can sit down with my guitar, right? It'll probably come back to me. I'm sure that doesn't always happen, but it's just a way of alleviating the anxiety when you're like trying to write on the go. But nothing comes to me in the morning. I'm quite impressed that you have morning brain. I'm useless in the morning. Nothing happens until the afternoon. So
I find the older I get, the more of a morning person I become. I don't even have alarms anymore. I just wake up at 7 a.m. and it's so frustrating because I love being lazy and I would rather sleep in until I had to be at work. But earlier you mentioned, working with the NHS. And so the majority of people who listen to our show are in the US. So
Yeah.
would you mind just a brief thing on what the NHS is? Because I know your
Yeah.
healthcare system and ours are completely
little different. Yeah, sure. So the NHS, the National Health Service, it's a nationally funded and run service that we have in the UK. It's free at point of service. It's paid for through taxation. It's how there are private systems over here as well. The NHS came into existence shortly after the Second World War. We've been really fortunate. I mean, I'm sure lots of people have heard of it, but like, yeah, we've been really fortunate to have it in this country for a really long time. It's in real trouble at the moment, I think it would be fair to say, and not controversial to say. It's underfunded. It's been sort of decimated by the Tory government over the last however many years. But yeah, that's what it is. So it's healthcare provisions. I'm a qualified psychotherapist, but I'm working as a trainee psychologist a couple of days a week in the NHS at the moment. I say working, it's part of my doctorate. But, I'm not being paid or anything. But yeah, that's what I'm referring to when I talk about that.
Now, if you could explain, because I have trouble, I guess, figuring this out. But what is psychotherapy?
What is psychotherapy? Oh, wow, what a question. It's not different. So the thing is, you have counseling, psychotherapy, and then you have psychology. And counseling psychology, the kind that I do, there's not much difference between those three things. They're different training routes. Within those worlds, there are lots of different ways of working. All of them are talking therapy. So sitting, talking normally. So for me, mostly listening and occasionally commenting. There are lots of different types of psychotherapy that I am to different levels trained in different types of different ways of working. And for me personally, I might integrate different bits, even in different types, even in the same session. So I sort of work as an integrative psychotherapist at the moment. But yes, it's talking therapy, I suppose, is the quick answer. So something that you're generally, I think, pretty good at in America. Really, America is often a bit ahead of us in terms of what psychotherapy is and how it functions. I don't know what your experience that is.
Something I'm curious about, because I think we're all influenced by all aspects of our lives and different stimuli and things that we've experienced. Has working in mental health, how has that influenced your songwriting and your musicianship?
It's a really good question. Thus far, because I was an actor for 10 years and a musician long before I did this transition and started training in the mental health fields. I don't know that is a big part of me trying really hard to keep them completely separate, because my work that I do is completely confidential. So I can't think about the work that I do whilst I'm writing songs. I mean, that's an absolute, there has to be a really strict wall between those two. So the songs and the way I write is and always has been very personal about my own feelings. So what's odd, I think, there is that in the room, in the psychotherapy room, it's not about me at all. Like, I'm a part of that process, but my backstory, my life is not and should not be a part of that conversation. Okay, every now and again, self-disclosure can be helpful, but that's a really complicated question. It's not what I'm doing in that room. It's not about me. It's about the person I'm working with. And songwriting is very different. So for me, I'm very honest in my songs about how I feel and about my life. And the nature of my life in particular is such that people quite often know who the songs are about as well, because I'm married to a singer-songwriter also. So it's an interesting question in terms of like how to hold both of those things in my life, and to have this one thing that is really private and confidential and not about me, and then this other really public thing. And that's a question, that's a balance. I'm not sure I've reached a conclusion on how to do that in a way that is comfortable both for me and for my clients. I don't know. I think the only thing for me is just to be honest with the people I'm working with, because you don't want them to stumble across your record and discover all of this stuff and be horrified. Do you know what I mean? That would be a shame. So I have on my website that I'm also a musician. But in terms of the writing, I think I would say I'm getting more succinct in my writing. I used to use a lot of words, a lot of words. So something like The Boy and the Thief, it's just blah, 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 blah. I don't really stop, and it's quite hard to perform. And I feel like over time, sometimes I still love doing that. It's fun. I love words. I always have loved words. And that's a parallel between the two things that I do. It's all about narrative and how we tell our story. That is fundamental to both of these things. But I think maybe I'm streamlining my writing a bit. I don't know. You now make me think. I don't know if that's because of my psychology training or if that's more because of just getting older and trying to get better at the writing. Maybe the influence of other people around me who I admire. I don't know. I'm not sure where that's come from, but that would be a shift I've seen in my writing, I think. I don't know if that really answers your question.
No, I think so. When I first heard your music and I heard the fun part, and then I found out you worked in mental health, I'm like, oh no, this is somebody who understands complicated feelings. And this is definitely like that's what I saw in it. And I was like, I wonder if they're related, like.
Oh no, I think that's really, really true. Yeah, definitely. I think someone being interested in human emotion and trying to make sense of it is a fundamental aspect of songwriting. Regardless of whether you write about your personal experience or what, that's a really important thing. It's all about connection, communication of human experience. And yeah, that exact same interest is what led me into psychology. But yeah, I mean, I've been a mess many a time in my life, and I think that the best psychologists and best psychotherapists will have had to work through their own stuff to get there. Otherwise, how do you know how to help anyone? I mean, and it's not like you get there and now you're qualified and I'm completely fine, right? That's not how it works either. It's all about that shared experience. So yeah, I think you're right about that.
Ian, you've talked a lot about your own struggles with mental health and your experience in therapy. Do you think that's affected your songwriting in any way?
Oh, right. I would say so, yes. I put out my last record, Intrusive Lullabies. That was me being more honest with myself about how I was feeling at the time. So I talk about my anxiety, I talk about imposter syndrome, I talk about, yes, working through what was at that point like a really tough year in my life. And it allowed me to just kind of be I started writing that record right when I started therapy, right when I got back on my medication as well. Because years prior I was on Zoloft, then my insurance expired. So I was just stuck like a few years just kind of battling my own demons at the time. So I would say starting therapy, then get back on medication, that allowed me to just get back into what I love doing. That was music. So that kind of helped me work through a lot that I was going through at that point. And putting that out, just seeing people resonate with it really just meant a lot to me, and it got me connected with the best people I know right now, present company included. So the question I have for you, Jess, is like you just said, I was without insurance for a while. I know some of you can't afford therapy or medication. So what tips would you give to people that don't have access to that do battle stress and anxiety?
Oh, that's a really good question. And, you know, we live in quite distressingly different worlds that should be such a concern in the States. Although that said, marvelous as the NHS is, it's really hard to get therapy on the NHS here as well. So it does apply in the UK too. There's just a huge waiting list. I think, I mean, personally, I do believe in music as something to turn to, and it sounds like that's been really important to you. And I think it's really important for a lot of people. It's very hard to say what will work for as a general thing. You know, I tend to believe in very specific treatment for individual people. But for a lot of people, I think music is key. And it's interesting what you just said about getting back into what you love. I think it's really easy in stressful adult lives to lose track of things that allow you to lose yourself and to get lost in time in a state of flow. And that I think can be one of the most powerful things for mental health when you're struggling. That can be almost impossible to do if you're really struggling to give yourself the space and time. But I think, you know, think about what allows you to do that and find some space to prioritize that in your life, if possible. Talk to someone if you can, but having someone to speak to in your life, I think is also it's so much easier to say. Not everybody feels that they do have someone to speak to, but I think often you find, you know, I don't know what your experiences of this are. So I come from a background as an actor. Actors never shut up about how we feel, right? So this was always easy for me, and I appreciate it really isn't easy for a lot of people to speak about how they feel or to find someone they think will listen. I suppose I would say that a lot of the time you'll probably be surprised if you express feelings about anxiety or depression or any struggles you're having, that they will resonate. They're really universal feelings on different scales, but they are, you know, they're really normal human experiences to struggle with this stuff. It's so much more normal than people think. And I hate the word normal, but do you know what I mean? It's much more a part of the human existence than sometimes we acknowledge as a broader society, to struggle with anxiety and to have dark periods. And I know that depression is something different, obviously, but yeah, and where possible, seek professional help if you can, because it can really help. Yeah, I don't know if that's of any use. I could come up with lots and lots of smaller tips and tricks, but they're going to work for some people and really annoy other people. Do you know what I mean? That's the nature of individual human psyche.
Yeah, I always found like, especially in the US, like there is a stigma for mental health issues, and especially like in the Black community as well, because on the basis we see all this, we see our shootings happen like via police and everything like on screen, and we deal with like bouts of like microaggressions or racism on a daily basis, but we're also told at the same time, don't show anger, don't get sad, don't show any of your colors at all. And it's for me, it was just difficult trying to speak out about that because I was just told to help him for so long. So at some points it kind of clashes out, but I always use it as kind of my I guess resource just to get down everything that I'm feeling, especially as of right now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think there's that broader social pressure to stay upbeat and safely within the confines of limited human experience, right? I think that absolutely does exist. I'm sure all the more so for you than, but certainly not for me as a cis white female actor in the UK. I was incredibly privileged on that front to be able to express my feelings. You know, it's not true of everyone. It's not true in every situation. And I think it's really damaging to expect people to exist within very limited emotional confines because we just don't. That's not how humans are. And it's artificial. So I think it's great that you're speaking about it. And I think it's great that you're using music to speak about it more broadly. I think that's fantastic.
Would you say there's a big stigma in the UK in regards to?
So this is a really interesting question for me. I think the UK is a really varied place. I think, again, I have been fortunate to inhabit a particular corner of the UK in my creative world where no, that's not been the case. You know, like what kind of actor can't talk about their feelings? You know, it's our bread and butter. It's what we use. So my life experience, I think, for a long time led me to believe that everyone was like that and everyone could speak like that. But that isn't the case at all. And the more I work in the sphere that I'm now working in, the more I see that a lot of people are still, there's this sort of stoical, stiff upper lip idea that I thought was long dead, right? In my naivety, I was like, surely when no one still thinks that nonsense. Loads of people still think that the appropriate way of dealing with things is to keep quiet, carry on, and not speak about how you feel. And that's quite British in some ways too. So I think my grandma, who's 93, I remember very vividly saying that she didn't cry at my granddad's funeral, and she was really proud of not having cried at his funeral, the man that she loved. And I remember thinking, that's bananas. Like, what's wrong with crying? So I've always been so open to it that I think I was blinded to how much of a stigma there actually is. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I think there is. And I think in certain groups more so than others, definitely, exactly as you're describing, there are different pressures on different people from different backgrounds to behave in particular ways. So yeah, I think there is. And I think for a lot of people seeking therapy, and we can lose sight of this when you work as a therapist because it becomes your day to day that's what you do. But for a lot of people, it's a really daunting thing to do. And it can feel shameful because people think you need therapy because there's something wrong with you, which is absolutely not my belief. Like, I think everyone needs a space to talk about themselves. And if it's possible, it's an incredibly healthy thing to do. You know, we go to the gym or we go for runs to look after our physical health. And personally, I kind of see therapy. I think that therapy can be a similar thing in a person's life, a way of living a happier, healthier life rather than a crisis service. That said, most people come to therapy in the first instance because they're in crisis, because that isn't how people outside of the therapy world see it still. So that's something I think that would be really beneficial as a broader social change, to just understand that having space to speak doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. Like, wanting someone to speak to doesn't have to mean that there's something wrong. And if there is something wrong, that also doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. Do you know what I mean? People suffer, people struggle. That is what happened at some point to everyone to varying degrees. So yeah, I think we should normalize it, definitely. And I think there is still a stigma around seeking help.
I fully agree. My first time starting therapy, I started maybe when I was maybe 15 years old, and I was skeptic too because I didn't feel like there was something wrong with me, like going to therapy, then being off of medication. Like, I don't want to do this. I was very anti that, but it didn't get till maybe until like like 10 years later when I said, all right, now I need to do something about this. Now I need to actually start taking care of myself. Then the healthcare thing happened. But now I'm back in. I feel much better than I had before. It's been a journey, and it sucks. Like it sucks getting that discomforted or uncomfortable talking about these things, but it helps you like build and helps you like grow as a person. And that's what one thing I try to tell people that want to get back into therapy. Yes, it's a process. It's not linear. You're gonna fall. You're gonna stumble, but you're gonna get better, and it's gonna suck. It always
Yeah,
make it.
and really flat. I think that's important. It can be really, really hard. Yeah. And I think what's lovely and what's wonderful about what you're doing, and this is hopefully something that I do in my life as well, like, is that the more you encounter people that think therapy is great, and I will literally, what I will say when people go, oh, no, I've thought about therapy, I'm like, go, it's really fun. You just get to talk about yourself. Try to talk about it, not as a like, it can be a really, really heavy thing. Of course it can. I know that. It's what I do for a living. But it can also just be something good for you, for yourself, right? It can be, it doesn't have to have all this meaning, this sort of pregnancy around, oh, I'm going to therapy. What does that mean about me? Or no, just go, just try it. Try it like you would try a yoga class. Try it like it. I think the more you speak to people who don't think of it as this enormous problematized symptom of there being something wrong with you, the less intimidating it becomes. So I think, part of changing the rhetoric can be around that, being like, just give it a go, see what you think. But yeah, it can be really, really, really tough. That is true. But it can also be utterly joyous.
I know in the U.S. we have like organizations like She Write Love on Her Arms and Punk Rock Saves Lives that do handle mental health. In the UK, I know there's trying to change it, but what other nonprofit organizations do you support?
Oh, we have this really big mental health charity over here called Mind, and they have local offices almost everywhere around the UK, and they offer either incredibly reduced rate therapy or free therapy. So they're always brilliant. I don't know if you have an equivalent over there. I'm not sure if they've made it to the States, but they're a really important organization. They do incredible work. There's also an organization called CALM, which is called Campaign Against Living Miserably, is what that stands for. So I've worked alongside with this many years ago. Before I started the training, I was producing a play, and we did some talks with CALM on that around mental health, because suicide rates in young men still remain higher here than in any other group. Not sure that's entirely true anymore, actually, but I need to check my stats. But in terms of, they're higher than they are in the female population. And it's still, I think, more actively stigmatized for men to speak about mental health issues than women. That's not to say it's easy for women. Now, absolutely isn't. And obviously there are other groups for whom this is crucially important, but CALM work with young men specifically to try to give them a space to speak. So that's always been quite important, I think, to me as well. Just given the people that we have known and lost to suicide in my life, I think that CALM, they're a really important organization too. It's a couple. There's lots, but that's a couple to be getting on with.
I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us about all this stuff. I know this is a heavier episode than we typically have, but I think it's an important conversation to have. But I think it's time that we maybe lighten things up a bit with a game. Ian, would you like to introduce the game?
Lovely. I'm keen.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Pass, motherfucker. We got some quick fire questions for you.
Oh dear.
So my first one is, what is your Mount Rushmore, your top 4 musicals or plays that you've been?
And does it need to be shows, or can it also be like as a singer-songwriter moment?
I'll make me singer-songwriter too.
Okay. So number 1, I mean, not in no particular order. There might all be plays anyway, but I think the show I just mentioned that I was producing is a show called Gym for Breakfast, written by my magic friend Jess Moore. That was a play about mental health, actually, but and about suicide. But it was brilliant, and I adored it, and was very, very proud of that. So that one, I was in The Great Gatsby for the best part of a couple of years, so I must have enjoyed it, and I did. That was a really great show, really wild. That was in London. I was in an Oscar Wilde play, Lady Windermere's Fan. up in Scotland. That was really, really important to me too. And then I think playing at it's cheating because it was my husband's festival, but playing at the Roundhouse with my band was a really cool, which is then a beautiful venue in London. That was a really, really, really special moment. It's an incredible room to perform in.
So you're a musical person as well, but what's your Mount Rushmore of musicals that you just love?
Oh, that's really tough. Instantly and surprisingly coming to mind is The Sound of Music because I was obsessed with it when I was a kid. There's a musical called Parade, which is I think I wept more at that show than any musical I've ever seen. Les Miserables is why I became an actor. That and Shakespeare. That's why I wanted to be an actor in the first place. Oh, and what's number 4? I'm going to say, what am I going to say? I can't say Annie. I can't. But that was also really important to me when I was a kid. But I can't say Annie. So I think I'll say Hello, Darling, which is a classic.
I think Ian's is just Cats 4 times.
I'll say there's no
Cats.
cats.
Cats. Well, I loved Cats growing up. I did love it growing up, and I do love Andrew Lloyd Webber. If I was gonna pick a Webber, it would be Evita or Jesus Christ Superstar. Or, actually, that's quite difficult because it could also be Phantom of the Opera. So I don't know why I didn't do 4 Andrew Lloyd Webbers. I think because it's still a little bit frowned upon. There's a stigma around being an Andrew Lloyd Webber fan in this country, for sure.
Oh.
But I am one, and unashamedly so. Yeah.
I also find it funny that whenever we have these conversations, like so many people in this general scene genuinely love musical theater. Like it's not usually the first thing people think of. But like, no, everyone's got favorites.
I don't really consider myself in any way even punk adjacent. I'm punk adjacent by marriage. I'm a musical theatre folkie. That's me.
Yeah.
And I don't look very punk. So I love the punk scene, and I've obviously become very attached to it, and I feel very at home because it's a really friendly space, But I'm much more musical theatre as a person than I am punk. I think that would be fair to say, which is distressing for certain people in my life who are less into musicals.
And if you ever road trip with Ian, he will sing the entire Cats musical for you back to front because he did that with me once.
I could do that too. We could start at the beginning. I am pretty confident. I did a performance of McCavity at school when I was like 7. I did a little dance routine and everything. But Skimble Shanks, that's my favourite tune from that one.
Mr. Mistopheles lifts my head rent free.
That's right. Mr. Mistopheles also tune. Yeah. I think I sing Skimble Shanks the Railway Cat to myself every time I get a train, every single time.
So now I have to ask, do you see the movie?
No, because it's too precious to me and I don't want to ruin it. And I've heard such awful things about the movie that I didn't. What do you think?
It is a fever dream. It is so amazing.
You love it?
All right, so I don't
Love the word?
I think I love to hate it. I'll say
Okay.
that. Like it's an experience. Like you'll never get that experience ever again. Probably watching
Right. Yeah. So it hasn't ruined it for you though, so that's the important thing.
My recommendation, if you want to see the best part of it without it ruining things for you, is just see if you can find an extended clip of Ian McKellen method acting as a cat, which he does. Like they just
Wow. That's extraordinary.
I just love I love how you had that at the ready, Ian. Just
I'm really surprised at how quickly that just happened.
it was only my background, but I couldn't get my face to show up. So
you know
but
why?
I
That's
have
because
that. I have that
technology.
ready.
Technology is racist. That's why.
So,
That's the actual truth. Technology is racist. That's why.
that is true.
They test everything
that's
on white
amazing.
skin.
I now feel really sad that I didn't say cat. I said Hello Dolly because I was in it, but actually really it's probably are you a Jesus Christ Superstar fan? Because the intro, the opening song of that, then the film from the 70s and the guy who plays Judas. Oh my God, it's extraordinary. That's probably one of my favorite musical moments of all time. So you don't know it, or you do?
No, I know. I'm a big fan
You
of Superstar.
Yeah. Good.
It's like
yeah.
that, Joseph and Cats. Like they're my top 3 Lord Andrew.
Really? Okay. We're gonna have to talk more about this at some point.
Yeah.
Sing them at each other.
Next one I have is what are your musical guilty pleasures if you have any?
I don't believe in guilt when it comes to music. So No, I don't have any that I would call guilty pleasures. I have pleasures that other people try to make me feel guilty about and fail. I can talk about those. Like, I'm a really big Taylor Swift fan. I think she's fantastic. And, the more people go, yay, me too, than go, "Oh," but there's always someone who goes, it's just a bit snide about it. And I don't care about those people. I think she's very clearly extraordinary. I think a lot of people would find some of the more sort of old school twiddly-diddly folk music that I love very embarrassing. But again, I'm just not embarrassed at all. I have been known to partake, actually not voluntarily, but in a little bit of clog dancing, that sort of thing.
That's the actual wooden shoes, right?
Yeah, it's really hard. Like, it's really difficult. It was part of another show. It was part of the show, but it was difficult. And Morris dancing as well. Are you guys familiar with Morris dancing?
No.
Oh, this is the most English thing. It is horrendously embarrassing. So you kind of attach bells to your legs and wrists, and you have either big sticks that you bash against each other or handkerchiefs that you flick about, and it's a magical dying dance form that I think needs a resurrection. And in some places, getting one. But that definitely, teenage me would have been like, oh my God, so uncool. But now I think it's amazing.
And it was called
So-
Morris dancing, you said?
Morris dancing, yeah.
Okay.
Morris. It's amazing, honestly. Like, it's just it's ancient. Like, it's an ancient folk way of dancing, and relatively ancient. And it's so English. And somehow Scottish and Irish folk tradition and folk dance is just cooler than the English stuff. Do you know what I mean? It's somehow just more graceful, more beautiful. The English stuff is clunky and hilarious, but I still love it. I do still love it.
I feel I have to work this one in because we talked to lots of people from the UK. How do you feel about, are you one of the people from the UK who come over here and really love shitty American light beer?
I'm really sorry. I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's
You can drink it all
100% from the field on this. Yeah.
You can drink it all day, like from start to finish. So when we come to the States, like if I come over, I've been over for a punk rock cruise one time, well, a couple of times with Fog and Molly, and it's the perfect drink for something like that. So you just start in the beginning of the day and you keep drinking the same thing all day and you feel completely fine the whole time. It's magic. Yeah, I don't know. Is that a terrible thing to admit to? All
No.
American.
Ian and I are equal opportunity drunkards, so we're fine with any of it.
Yeah, well, I'm not very. I love wine. That's the drink that I kind of like, the good stuff. But beer, and you get a lot of sort of artisanal pubs in the UK as well. I think you do over there as well, right? There's big. I just don't care. I don't like it. I don't want my beer to taste like my dinner. I like it to taste like air, and get me a tiny little bit drunk. So yeah, I'm a Bud Light girl all the way.
This last one I have for you. Who do you want to tour with next? Like, who's on your bucket list to tour with?
Oh, the bucket list. So the person at the top of my bucket list, the person who I think I could just give up on having to do anything ever again with myself, and I'd be happy with my achievements if I were to ever tour with her, is a wonderful American folk singer called Dar Williams. Are you familiar with
Yes.
her? She's the reason I started writing songs. She is my absolute all-time favorite writer, and she's a wonderful voice. That is a person I would, I would love to go on tour with her. I don't think it would be awful because I'd just spend the whole time like scaring her with my excited gaze. And I think I would find it difficult to speak to her because she's so important to me. On a similar level, wonderful singer-songwriter is Anais Mitchell, who I had the great fortune to meet. Are you familiar with Anais?
Hmm.
She's also written a musical called Hadestown. She's
Oh,
really
okay.
Yeah. She's an extraordinary writer with a really unique, really wonderful voice. I cannot recommend her highly enough if you're not familiar with her work. She's amazing. And I did meet her and I really embarrassed myself. I was so excited to meet her. We were having a perfectly normal chat, and then towards the end, I think I encountered her stuff when I was on the way when I was trying to be an actor and it wasn't going very well at that particular moment in history. And I was on my way to a really miserable resting job that I hated. But, you don't rest when you're not acting. You work loads of shit jobs that you hate. That's what resting means. And I started listening to this record and I just sat down on a bench and cried and didn't go to work. It was so beautiful. And then when I met her, I told her that. I went, I just heard your record. I did. Yeah, really embarrassed myself. So she's really high on that list too. But it's quite a long list. There are lots of people I adore.
I just had that moment. I met Billy Bragg just last week, and I'm all there waiting for him to show up on stage, and he just unloading in right next to me. I'm like, fuck, I can't move my spot. So my friend said, I'll watch it for you. Just run over there. So I just went, Billy, and just ambushed him and got a hug. And
Just a leap, we just leap on that. He's a lovely man, Bill, isn't he? Yeah. I met him on the sign-in Bearded Theory Festival in the UK, and the artist sign-in, and he knows my husband well. So, and I just, when you've seen someone's face so much that you just kind of go, hi, and I was like, I've never met, that's Billy Bragg, and you've never met him, and like you've known him for years. And then I went, sorry, I should probably introduce myself. Just assuming that, oh, hi, mate, nice to see you. He has no idea who I am, right? He's a lovely man, though. I'm really glad you got to meet him.
And again, with you being from the UK, as somebody who comes over here, American food you have to have when you're here.
Oh, see, the problem is we can get quite a lot of them here now, but for a long time it was Reese's peanut butter cups, which you can now get in the UK. Pancakes. There are places that do American pancakes here, but it's not quite the same. We went to, in Boston, there's this place, is it called the Paramount? That it was the greatest pancake I've had in my life. American pancake, it was a different European pancake. I mean, I love American food. My main problem is how enormous everything is. It's huge, right? But a lot of the stuff that I love, we can now get here. But for me, and I say this with all the love in the world, your chocolate largely is worse than ours. But peanut butter cups are the exception to that rule. They're sensational. I may have just said something really controversial.
No.
No, I love peanut butter cups.
Yeah, good. You don't mind me describing your chocolate as worse.
It's probably true. I don't really do sweets, so I don't usually know.
Okay.
But like, yeah, it's probably
And I wonder
true.
you're not that offended.
Yeah.
But that's a big one.
Hey, do you have a karaoke question?
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. So say you were somewhere and no one knows who you are. Your friends drag you to a karaoke bar.
Mhm.
What song are you gonna sing?
Historically, I've made really bad choices on this when I've done karaoke. I once tried to do Everywhere by Fleetwood Mac, which is a really weird song to do karaoke because you just go, ooh, what? And then the rest of the song is all actually in the production, right? So I'm not very good I wouldn't trust my own judgment to choose a song. Not that one. What song would I do? I mean, can I say some Disney? I love singing Disney. Great. So Part of Your World. That's the one. That's the song I like to sing the most. Still, I think.
It's one of those weird things. It's like music. Some people are like, "Oh, I hate hearing musicals at karaoke." But if anyone does a Disney one,
Yeah.
like it just hits so well for everybody because we all have like some measure of Disney inside us from being
Sure.
children.
Yeah,
at
you
one
can't
point.
help it. It's unavoidable, right? Yeah. What are your karaoke songs of choice then?
Oh God, I've been doing karaoke for so long. I mean, I got at Lost Evenings, I got it tattooed on my knuckles. Like I got the word karaoke tattooed on my knuckles. Yeah,
That is fantastic.
I used to have a karaoke podcast. At this point, I want to sing a song I've never sang before, which is getting harder and harder and harder every subsequent week.
Have you done much Disney?
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh yeah, I'll do
Well-
Disney. We get on musicals. Like one of my favorite things to do is either Sweet Transvestite from Rocky Horror or If I Were a Rich Man from Fiddler on the Roof.
Oh, that is such an undervalued musical, right? It's not on very. It's obviously in some ways like it feels quite racist in places now when you think about it. When you go back and look at the sort of stereotypes, but I think it's an amazing piece of art. Also, I think it is both of those things. Never gets put on now, but that's what a song.
I would say mine. If I'm just in regular karaoke, it's gonna be Styx, Come Sail Away, or S Club 7, S Club Party, because I fucking love that song.
Wait, but is that a good one for a karaoke? Because again, a lot of the time you're just going S Club, and then you do lots of different parts, right? That was the problem with Everywhere. It's like I don't know which bit to sing.
Then Disney wise, I I know every song from Aladdin from front to back, so I'll probably either do "Friend Like Me" or Prince Ali because I love those songs.
Yeah, great song. The
And
Robin Williams ones that you do. Robin Williams ones you do. Yeah.
and if I had to pick like regular musical, it'll probably be. I love Hamilton, so
Yeah.
it'll probably be either "Wait for It" or like the title track, Alexander Hamilton, because I just fucking love it.
If
Yeah.
I could sing one high note to save my life, I would kill to do "You'll Be Back," because that song is just so much fun. But I would sound like a cat that's being tortured, so we won't go there.
Well, and not until you run out of all the other songs you've done. At
Yeah,
karaoke.
then I have to. Yeah.
But there is yet hurt.
Jess, it was so lovely to have you on this. We really appreciate you coming on. And
I'm
mental
glad-
health has always been a big thing for me in music, just in life in general. So to be able to talk about it in this setting was a lot of fun. So thank you for joining us and talk about this important subject.
Well, thank you for having me. It's lovely to talk about. It's sort of difficult to know how to combine the two. So it's really lovely to actually do that in a podcast, talk about music and talk about the other work that I do. And I think it's exactly as you've said, mental health and music kind of go hand in hand, don't they? A lot. And this has been really lovely and really fun.
This show is the brainchild of Black Guy Fawkes, folk punk griot. You can find him on all the social medias as Black Guy Fawkes or Black Guy Fawkes Music, as well as on Bandcamp. Merch, music, and ticket sales are how independent music gets sustained, but word of mouth also helps a great deal. The intro and outro are both from the song New American Meltdown by Black Guy Fawkes, so that's legally covered because this is his podcast, and that is his song available on the album Life, Love, and the Bomb. Additional music elements provided by Ben Dumb Production Music. Check out more at bdmusicproduction.com for all your bespoke royalty-free background music needs. Sound design and editing by Ed Coulard, who appears courtesy of his dog and many, many cats. Cover art by Jacob Matthews, a pal who has been down since day one. Finally, while Fawkes and Friends firmly believes that punk rock is and should be a safe space, we know it can't be safe for everyone without excluding bad elements. So remember.
So tell your local Nazis and your fascists to fuck off.
And you are all invited to my birthday show, Fawkes and Friends, and it'll be myself and my full band. Oh, hold on. God damn.
Well, I have our outtake for this episode now.
About me being tired.
Like, ooh, god damn.